Hello and welcome to Fulbeck in Lincolnshire for round 7 of the HWE BIM Services Super 1 Championship. A slipstream broadcast powered by Alpha Live will bring you all of the finals from today's race day, and then we'll be back bright and early tomorrow morning for all of the heats and the finals from round 8. We start the second half of the HWE BIM Services Super 1 Championship from one of the most historic circuits on the calendar, and also one of the most challenging. Fast straights intersected by heavy braking zones and chicanes, and a fearsome long run from the rolling start all the way up towards turn 1, and gravel on the outside to contend with as well for those drivers that are going to potentially push the envelope a little bit too far. It's a very overcast, but it's still very, very warm outside. Very much shorts and t-shirts weather, despite the fact that the sun is still hiding behind the clouds. But we've still got good temperatures, and certainly out on track as the final heat of the day comes to a close. We still have some very, very hot action out there as well. The checkered flag brings a close to the heats, and up for you very, very shortly all of our finals. Some of our classes have merged together for the heats. They'll get split for the finals, so we'll have a full complement of racers for you here this afternoon from Fulbeck in Lincolnshire. I'm David Sullivan, voice of the Super 1 Championship. Looking forward to bringing another slipstream broadcast to you. The first final of the day will be our smallest class, certainly on par with the Coma C50s. It's time for Might E. A few carts just going to be recovered, so we may wait a little while before that final, but here at Fulbeck you can see the safe zone down the middle of the circuit, so some carts will be pulled into there if we've got a problem. Certainly the 12 of Rory Hinckley will need recovering. One of our perennial front runners in seniors, but will be well down the order when it comes to his final. That's the last final of the day at around about 5:30 here at Fulbeck, so his cart will be recovered, but he'll be recovered during the race. So they'll come and collect it, and then they'll wait until the end of this race, which is the first of our finals for Mighty, before taking the cart safely across the circuit and back into pit lane. Let's bring you a grid then for the first of our finals. As you can see there, driver in the white helmet waiting to make his way out. Your championship leader by the way of 37 points going into round number 7. Luca Peed will start this final from pole position. Alongside him on the front row will be Luca Peed. But it won't, so it'll be Luca Peed, Max Tetlow then on the front row, Aidan Castleman and Eli Parkhouse on row number 2, with Joshua Chung and the UK plate of EJ Deera on row 3. Row 4 will see Teddy Veselovsky and a very busy this weekend Maverick Reddick. He's going to be taking part in both Might E and IARMI M1. Makes his Might E debut here this weekend, having raced this class for the first time last weekend at a club meeting at this circuit at Fulbeck, in which he took victory. He'll start this one in P8. Fabian Smith starts P9, Jensen Paris in P10, with Archie Watkins, the W plate from Wombwell, lines up in P11. He's got Astro Matthews alongside on row number 6. Row 7 will be Dax Miller and Fraser Payne. 14 runners in Mighty. Helpers making their way out onto circuit. Drivers, final few seconds of contemplation. Make sure the gloves are tight as Aidan Castleman heads round in the number 46 after a strong first heat for Castleman. He lines up on the same number of points as Max Tetlow. Tetlow, though, with a faster time in the, believe qualifying, puts him on the front row, with Castleman along just behind him on the second row. Nine minutes on the clock. We've had 7-minute heats, so drivers just being repositioned. Drivers will not, and by that I mean should not, take the chicane on the opening lap. They've had 2 heats of practice, so now they'll run straight the way down, all the way towards this camera position, down at turn 1. They'll miss the first chicane at the first time of asking. They will then have that reinstated. 5-second board in the hand of the start marshal. Keep an eye on the red lights in the top right-hand corner. They extinguish. And final one of round number 7 is underway. It's been a good start by both of the drivers off the front row. Max Tetlow is going to try and get the edge and all the way around the outside. At the moment, I think he's got the nose ahead, but he won't have a full kart ahead by the time they get up towards the first corner. And Luca Pede will lead us through, and there's no gap either for Tetlow to get in as Aidan Castleman comes through from the second row in third place to move himself up into P number 2, up towards the second of the 2 bus stop style chicanes. This is always the one where you get the concertina effect a little bit more, and we've seen it in the mid-pack. A few drivers coming together, and that's Maverick Reddick out onto the grass on the outside, getting squeezed in that CRG chassis to the outside, and that's given the top 5 a little bit of a breakaway already. So we head up towards the complex with Luca P leading from Aidan Castleman and Max Tetlow. The 24 of Eli Parkhouse, who has run the UK plate previously with an all-black livery, now running the number 24 back again, and the 40, who's actually just being Joshua Chung in the 42. It's the top 5 breakaway. First time they're going to take this chicane. As wide goes Eli Parkhouse. That doesn't seem to have cost him too much time. Wise in the background, that's EJ Deere making his way down the inside. So Parkhouse, normally I say in that all-black livery that we saw from the rounds at Clay Pigeon, has now got himself a lovely new sticker kit. So what was a top 5 has now become a top 4. They've managed to move away from Joshua Chung, although Chung is still fairly comfortable, but will need to keep his head down because EJ Deere has now found that way past the green and black machine of Jensen Paris and moves himself up into 6th place. Out of the final corner, all the drivers moving towards the inside and then heading back out onto the optimum line in these smaller classes. Expect the same largely in the All the Bambino classes and maybe even Honda Cadet and Micro Max as well. We don't expect it quite so much in Senior, Rotax and Junior later on. They've got a little bit more power out of that final corner, and in terms of time-wise, a shorter run as Max Tetlow now up into 2nd place. Castleman going with them. Joshua Chung still in that 5th place. EJ Deere, who overtook Jensen Paris on the previous lap, doesn't seem to be getting closer actually to Joshua Chung in the number 42. Just going to have a quick look at Joshua Chung regarding the championship so far and whether he's taken a trophy home in this mighty class. Trophy all the way down to 6th as down the inside goes Max Tetlow for the lead as Luca Peden in the background. That looked like Eli Parkhouse and Aidan Castleman swapping places as well, and we're going to run 2 by 2 up towards the first hairpin as Luca Pede retakes the lead then from Max Tetlow. Gap then back is still Castleman and Parkhouse, but both of these duos have traded places in the last couple of laps. Wonder whether Max Tetlow now will take a few laps just to bed himself back in. Although if Luca Pede keeps going wide like that, he may well find opportunities open up for him sooner rather than later. And here could be one, as he's going to try and go down the inside in the right-hander of the complex. It'll put him on the outside, but if he can stay there, it may well give him track position on the run up to the first corner. Squeezed though by Luca Pede, who then opens the door early. And this is playing into the hands a little bit of Joshua Chung, who's starting to come back towards this train of 5. And Tetlow's coming down the inside of Luca Pede. I thought Aidan Castleman was going to find a way through down the inside there as well. In the orange and black RCE coloured machine. Here comes Pede though, straight back at Max Tetlow. Into the right-hander. Aidan Castleman trying to find a way through. Parkhouse taking a little bit too much curve for these small carts, but again, no real harm done. Chung has had trophies so far in 5th and 6th in the earlier rounds of the championship. He's actually moving away from EJ Deere. He's got this target in front of him. 4th place Eli Parkhouse gets to pop out. As wide goes Max Tetlow. Carries a little bit too much speed maybe into that first chicane. Aidan Castleman's going to sweep round the outside, and now it's going to be Castleman who's going to go on the charge. And he's got a really good run there out of the hairpin. I wonder if there's a gap to be had down the inside. He elects not to. Got a really good drive though out of that far corner, and Max Tetlow at the moment is struggling a little bit with rear end grip on that kart. He's going into the chicanes and losing it mid-corner, and it may well allow this top two to move away unless Eli Parkhouse is going to try and move through. Thought he was coming there. Castleman's not going to be alongside enough, for the optical illusion of the two karts coming straight at you may have indicated that he was fully alongside, but Luca Pede closing the door firmly. Still 4 laps to go, and Pede doesn't feel like he's going to need to defend this one, and doesn't. Always gives you that worry when they're coming down in 2 different lines, and from a distance you can't quite figure out who's got the run. Tetlow goes down the inside on Aidan Castleman with a lovely move that, fortunately for Eli Parkhouse, he was unable to find a way through the same gap. So he's been perennially in 4th place in front of Joshua Chung. Yes. Here comes Castleman back at Max Tetlow, probably not the most advantageous overtaking spot, up towards Marshall Post 5, the left-hander before the hairpin down at Caravan Corner. Three on the clock, and there's lap traffic to contend with for the leaders. It's been a trouble-free race so far. Here comes the Tetlow train down the inside, and he's bringing the Castleman carriage along with him as well. They've both managed to find a way through, and Luca Pede, in fact, is going to get shuffled all the way back behind Eli Parkhouse, and from 1st to 4th in the blink of an eye. 2 karts in front that they're going to have to contend with on this lap, and they may well catch them before the chicane. They've managed to pick off 1, they've managed to pick off 2. Really good driving there by the leading trio, and Luca Pede's found a way through, as has Joshua Chung as well. So what we felt was potentially going to cause them some issues, they've all managed to navigate nice and cleanly, and now there is no lap traffic in front for the top 5 to contend with. Tetlow then from Castleman, Eli Parkhouse, a gap back to Luca Pede in 4th place, and then Joshua Chung, who's been comfortable in P5 throughout this race, has a big look over his shoulder as he comes out of the final corner to look back, and he'll now find behind him it's still EJ Deere in the UK plate, but he's got to find his way through that traffic. Now we've gone into defensive mode for Max Tetlow, as Eli Parkhouse is going to stake a late claim for a victory here, having been in 4th place and at times looked like he was struggling to get past Aidan Castleman earlier on in the race, but it's come to him now, and he gets into the wheel tracks of Max Tetlow. Castleman in 3rd, Luca Pede still within touching distance. Castleman tries a move down the inside of Eli Parkhouse. Parkhouse has that scouted comfortably with a big look over his shoulder. Onto the final lap then comes Max Tetlow. So they make their run up towards the first chicane. Max Tetlow, who won the final at round 5, the opening day at Clay Pigeon, being pursued by Eli Parkhouse, who has had a heat victory this season and a couple of 3rd places, but hasn't been as high as second and certainly hasn't won a final. Down the inside goes Luca Peed for third place on Aidan Castleman. One final opportunity. Castleman's coming back at Peed. Peed's got that one scouted. Can Eli Parkhouse do anything about Max Tetlow, or Luca Peed's going to try and go down the inside of him? Parkhouse is willing the kart on, but the day is going to belong to Max Tetlow. Tetlow takes the victory from Eli Parkhouse and Luca Peed. Aidan Castleman and Joshua Chung in front of EJ Deera. That's the direction that your trophies will go from the Might E final. Teddy Veselovsky in P7 finishes in front of Jensen Paris, Maverick Reddick and Fabian Smith, who all crossed the line within 0.4 of a second of each other in 8th, 9th and 10th. See Reddick again in IARMY M1 in around about 20 to 25 minutes time. So for the second time this season, Max Tetlow takes a final victory to add to his Clay Pigeon Saturday success as well. The gap just over a quarter of a second. Back to Eli Parkhouse. Luca Peed will take the final step on the podium. Trophies as well going to Aidan Castleman in 4th, Joshua Chung and EJ Deera in 6th place. The rest of the field, Teddy Veselovsky in 7th, Paris, Reddick and Smith in 8th, 9th and 10th in front of Archie Watkins, Astro Matthews, Dax Miller and Fraser Haig, finishing in P14. We move on because it's another standing start as the helpers are already starting to make their way round the Coma C50. Check out the plethora of athletes we have here today at Fullbeck. I do mean the drivers, of course, not their mechanics and helpers. And it's going to be Matthew Pearson who will start this final from pole position. The championship leader with a 14-point advantage coming into this race weekend will bring the 45 machine round. Alongside him, the Anglo-Brazilian driver, Logan Grassi Duarte. He will start alongside him on the front row. He's got Noah Gallagher and Jace Hannon, currently second in the championship, just behind Reggie Rhodes and River Di Giorgio Miller on row number 3. Dalton Dyke Whitfield and Regan Abercrombie are on row 4, with Aidan Hughes and Robert Hanley row 5. Henry Isles and Tristan Begley are on row number 6. Helpers then making their way off through the gate on the left-hand side. 5-second board is raised just off camera shot. Keep an eye on the lights once again. They extinguish and are away and racing. A few drivers bouncing in the seats, trying to will their karts on from the right-hand side. That looks like it's a really good start, I think, by Logan Grassi, as the poleman, Matthew Pearson, bogs down. Kart just did not respond to him. He's going to be 4th by the time they get up to the first corner, and Logan Grassi will lead Jace Hannon and the E-plate of Reggie Rhodes as Pearson slots into 4th place. We're 3 wide. In the background, there's a little bit of rubbing between the 22 of Noah Gallagher and the driver to his right-hand side, who I think could well have been River Di Giorgio Miller in the 82. So 3 karts always a tight squeeze on the exit. The 14 of Dalton Dyke Whitfield, I think, was on the inside of that as well. As wide goes Reggie Rhodes, but given the right-left nature of this circuit, should have track position for the complex. And indeed, in that black and orange machine, slots in and holds on to 3rd place. But you get the feeling, given his points advantage and how good he's been so far in this championship, that it's only a matter of time before Matthew Pearson stakes a claim, and he's already up into 3rd place. Is Matthew Pearson right on cue? Moves up and will now look to challenge Logan Grassi and Jace Hannon. Hannon with a big helmet tap, saying, look, we need to think about this. Maybe we look to try and move away as a train of 4, and then we can decide of those 4 which 3 of us are going to be on the podium, as there's a bit of oversteer there by Logan Grassi. He has a helmet tap as well, although I think that may well be more aimed at himself. As down the inside goes Pearson on Hannon. Hannon straight back down the inside of Pearson into the right-hand hairpin of Caravan Corner. And again, another helmet tap by Jace Hannon. Pearson, though, has every right to challenge and will not want to see Logan Grassi breaking away. And he's got a new sticker kit on this weekend. Normally he runs a much darker Red Bull-esque livery in terms of the blue, but he's gone for a not lighter colour, and all the way around the outside on the brakes goes Jace Hannon and Matthew Pearson, both managing to go all the way around the outside of Logan Grassi. Grassi now will slot into 3rd place and try and go with the 2 in front, but he may well find himself behind Reggie Rhodes as well. A little bit of curb on the run up round the first corner will have unstabled this small Coma C50 kart. So very low weight limit in the grand scheme of things, only 71 kilo driver and kart combined. Means that at a track like Fullbeck, where you've got fairly aggressive curbs on the inside, these karts fly over them rather than bounce. As we head towards the bigger classes later on, you'll see them being far more aggressive over the curbs, particularly through the 2 chicanes. Leaders on a bit of a breakaway, and now Matthew Pearson seems a little bit more content to work and push away with Jace Hannon. These 2 split by 14 points as we came into the second half of the season. In the background, it looks like we've got a few overtakes going on in the run up towards the first corner. That's between Noah Gallagher, River Di Giorgio Miller and Dalton Dyke Whitfield. 3 drivers battling it out at the moment over the final 2 trophies in this Coma class, and they are once again fanning out to be 3 wide in the background. There is the 3 that we were talking about, of Gallagher, Miller and Whitfield coming through. The leaders still seem to be largely working together, and I think will be for the next couple of laps before taking the gloves off. So 2 by 2 for the leaders, then a train of 3 behind, which seem to have their gloves off already between Miller, Whitfield and Gallagher. Gallagher's dropped 2 places down into 7th, and at the moment is out of the trophy paying positions and picks up a contact warning as well. Here is this train of 3. Gallagher's got back to the front of it though, having dropped down into 7th place. He's now back up into P5 with River Di Giorgio Miller in the 82. 14 of Dalton Dyke Whitfield. Miller too has a contact warning in that 82 machine, and as it stands at the moment, Noah Gallagher has got a little bit of a gap out at the front here in this train, but it's a very slipstream heavy circuit, and that does allow drivers to close back up, particularly if they get a good run out of the corners. So much so that we're going to see a double overtake, I think, here down the inside, as Dalton Dyke Whitfield also draws alongside, although scrubs off a little bit of speed, trying not to run into the Gallagher. Gallagher's got the switch back and is going to go all the way around the outside, and indeed does, almost scared River Giorgio Miller into braking a little bit earlier there on the inside, did Noah Gallagher. A little bit of a squeeze, finds his way through nicely. Just going to wait for the leaders to come out of the final corner. We are, as you were, still inside the top 4. We'll keep an eye on them, but at the moment this 3 is where the action is at, and again, the head tapping has become almost contagious in Coma C50 so far in this race. There's some more of it going on at the front, and Jace Hannon can tap his helmet all he wants, but there's no way Matthew Pearson's going to sit behind him for the next 2.5 minutes and let him win this race. As again, we may well see a double move down the inside, not quite close enough on this occasion for them to draw alongside Noah Gallagher. And Miller in that middle kart is always the difficult position to be. You've got to attack, but at the same time, you know if you get it wrong, you're going to lose a place to Dalton Dyke Whitfield just behind. I think we'll have 3 laps to go at the end of this one, as the time will be 1:45 as they cross the oars. Dalton Dyke Whitfield gets into the rear quarter of the 82 of River Di Giorgio Miller, and it's cost Whitfield a few kart lengths. Behind them, Regan Abercrombie and Robert Hanley are nose to tail. There they are in the background of this one. So at least everybody inside the top 9 has got somebody to battle with. Behind them, Aidan Hughes, Tristan Begley and Henry Isles. Don't think we're going to see anybody a lap down in this race, which is always good to see. Bit more of a gap now in 3rd place as Logan Grassi has pulled away from Reggie Rhodes. So we pick the leaders up as Jace Hannon now will start to come under increased pressure from Matthew Pearson. Again, another helmet tap by Hannon, but I can assure you Pearson's not the type of driver to want to look at the back of that George Russell-inspired helmet any longer than he feels necessary. He's done so far what he's needed to do in terms of pushing Jace Hannon and working with Hannon to take them away from Logan Grassi and Reggie Rhodes. And now we've got a 2-kart battle for the top step of the podium rather than a 4-kart battle. And the time is now for Matthew Pearson. He goes down the inside of Jace Hannon. Waited lap after lap after lap and has now made the move towards the front of this class. Lap and a half to go as the time elapses towards the 0 mark. Big look over his shoulder. He's not going anywhere, I can assure you of that. Jace Hannon will try his hardest to push Matthew Pearson all the way to the edge here, as Pearson now starts to go very defensive, and you need to be very mindful in Coma about going too defensive, because these engines like the revs as high as possible and try and maintain it. But he's moving away at the front now is Matthew Pearson. In fact, that's a gap of half a second, and he's having a helmet tap now, but he looked over his shoulder a little bit. He realised that at the moment he's clear again. He's going to defend fresh air. But he's pulling away. Even when he's doing that, as wide goes Jace Hannon. And Matthew Pearson just got to bring the kart through the chicanes. A little bit of curb. That one you can ride in a Coma. The complex to go, and then the flat out left-hander. Train of 3 that we followed earlier on, and Miller, Gallagher and Whitfield are as you were. Matthew Pearson, though, has driven a race beyond his years. Wise for the first part of this race, sensational for the second part. Matthew Pearson takes victory by nearly a second, a gap gained over the space of 2 final laps, as he takes the victory from Jace Hannon and Logan Grassi. Reggie Rhodes, and then there's going to be still this battle all the way to the line for the final trophies. Gallagher and Dalton Dyke Whitfield will take them. River Di Giorgio Miller narrowly missing out after a race-long battle, finishes in P7. Regan Abercrombie and Robert Hanley are 8th and 9th. 10th will be Aidan Hughes. He crosses the line now to finish in P10. We await Tristan Begley, who will be heading out of the final corner around about now. There he is in the number 27 machine in the all red kart. He's going to come through to take 11th place and Henry Isles will be with us as well shortly as he comes out of the final corner. He too will take the checkered flag in the number 67 machine to finish in P12. So Matthew Pearson then takes the victory once again and will extend his championship lead. He finishes in front of Jace Hannon, Logan Grassi and Reggie Rhodes, Noah Gallagher, Dalton Dyke Whitfield and River Di Giorgio Miller, Regan Abercrombie, Robert Hanley, Aidan Hughes, Tristan Begley, Henry Isles are your Coma C50 final runners. We will move on very, very quickly. Some stories coming out of Micromax. That's your next final as they amalgamate with IAMI Water Swift Restricted. We'll bring you a grid then for our Micromaxers. The front row will be Ralph Ewer and Zane Sofawoglu after the heats. So Zane Sofawoglu starts on pole position. Ralph Ewer alongside Jensen Drummond and Hugh Riley will go off the second row. Jensen O'Connor and Ellis Holt on row number 3. Row 4 will be Charlie Cale and Cooper Galloway. They're in front of Lucas Howling and Alfie Ward, with Tommy Delaney and James Hudson on row number 6. Row 7, Sam Hope. He had some issues in heat number 1 after a bit of an incident dropped him down the order. The big news though, Buster Scott retired from heat number 2 with a broken chain. That's your championship leader. He's going to have to come through from P14 to try and salvage something out of today's race day. He starts in front of Max Stone of Jack's Motorsport and Matty Smith on row 8. In fact, that's the number 11 of the aforementioned Max Stone perched up on the curb on the outside. He's going to be able to, he's got to get round to retake his position before the prescribed point. He'll start in front of Ezra Robinson Matthews and Daniel Thompson on row number 9. Row 10, Eleanor Shelby Parsonage and Rowan Reed, Ralph Dempsey and Daniel Debrio in front of Jackson Foots and Archie Johnson on row number 12. Your final runner then will be Cole Parrish. He is in the IAMI Water Swift Restricted. He will be enjoying the day, trying to come through some of our Micro Max runners. Max Stone will rejoin, but be unlikely he'll be able to take his actual grid position in P15. He may have to come through from the back. He's going to come down the side and take his grid slot. Whether he's in enough time, I don't know. I don't know where the cut-off line is. I know where it is for club meetings, but whether that carries over into the Super 1 Championship, I'm not quite sure. But there he is into position now, the second of the two Jack's coloured machines. The power is down early. But the time has started and we are away and racing. We're going to run up towards the first corner. It's going to be Jensen Drummond who's managed to get the run in front of Jensen O'Connor. So the pole man down into 3rd place. The other driver off the front row, Ralph Ewer's down into 4th place as well. So a really good run. Off into the gravel at the far end of the circuit though, it's Lucas Howling in the number 70, and he's going to have brought a fair amount of gravel onto the track as well. And we've also got Tommy Delaney stationary in the middle of the second chicane. He's rejoined, but I think missed it, but he's well down the order now, is Tommy Delaney, having started in the mid-pack. Already, Zane Sofawoglu back up into 2nd place as Jensen Drummond will lead us over the line at the end of lap number 1. Sofawoglu, the Turkish superstar, up into 2nd place, with O'Connor, Ewer, Holt, Riley, Galloway, Cale, Max Stone, James Hudson. Waved yellows will still be there as Lucas Howling's kart is being cleared by the marshals, so there'll be no overtaking, unless they would like a penalty, of course, down at the far end of the circuit up towards the first hairpin. Side by side, we've got drivers Ralph Ewer and Jensen O'Connor. Behind them, Ellis Holt and Hugh Riley doing just the same. So Ralph Ewer for MJR He's up into third place. Good showing as well for the 43 of James Hudson. I think this is about the highest we've seen him in Intermax this season. Currently up in 10th place and going with this second train. Bit of a look over his shoulder to the right hand side there, but he has got a big gap and now should have the confidence to go forwards. Sofawoglu trying a little nose down the inside there on Jensen Drummond. I don't think it was a fall overtaken opportunity. It was just more of a let's show the nose and see what we can get out of this. As again, a little nose down the inside, but then that hampers the run as we've got two drivers off. I think one of them could well be Cole Parrish. It is Cole Parrish. Just being attended to by the marshal, the only IAME Water Swift restricted runner. Getting up and out of the cart. He looked to be in a bit of discomfort, but he is out of the cart and moving away. We've also got the 33 of Tommy Delaney off as well, but I couldn't see that cart originally because that's hid behind the marshal's post as he's trying to get his cart back onto the circuit, but he's going to be pulling that onto the racing line. Being covered at the moment under a waved yellow flag down towards Marshall Post 5. So that cart will be allowed to rejoin shortly. But drivers just need to be mindful when they come around that corner that there's now again going to be a fair bit of dust on the circuit. Jensen O'Connor down the inside and side by side with Ellis Holt as they run up towards the first chicane. Hugh Riley has moved his way now up inside the top four. He found a way through. Cole Parrish's cart is being moved away. Not sure who that marshal is down there at Marshall Post 5, but he's certainly earned himself some celebratory biscuits later on. He moved initially to get Cole Parrish to safety. Change for the lead then now as Zane Sofawoglu moves to the front. We're going to have some blue flags just to let a few drivers know that the leaders are coming up to them as they go down the inside, and Sofawoglu managed to get through, but Jensen Drummond could not. Now, Drummond remonstrating with the slower driver, but that's not how we work in karting, and these drivers are very, very familiar with that. The blue flag does not mean get out the way. The blue flag is advisory that there are faster karts coming up. You maintain your racing line. There's a reason that the drivers at the front are faster. It's they're more experienced. They've got this stage in their development. They have a little bit more ability. And they should be more than capable of finding the way through. And if that means braking earlier to get a better exit, then so be it. I understand Drummond will be frustrated. But sometimes you get the rub of the greed. Sometimes you don't. On this occasion, he has not, as Lucas Howling watches on. Staying down the far end, will take the opportunity to learn from his peers in terms of braking points and racing lines and turn-ins as he watches from the outside of this corner. Good little move down the inside there by the 17 of Jackson Foots. Racing with TWR Pantano in that number 17 machine. His first year in micros. So Drummond still in the second place then in this train as Sofawoglu has moved off at the front. Now, Sofawoglu 48 points behind Buster Scott in the championship. However, did miss a round earlier in the year and we haven't put the drop rounds in yet. We raced 12 rounds over 6 weekends here in the HWE BIM Services Super 1 Championship, and the top 10 in terms of your results from race weekends get added together. So you are able to drop days, full weekends if you don't go to a circuit for a full double header. But Sofawoglu, who raced a Saturday but not a Sunday earlier on in the season at Glanyugh Gores for the second round of the championship. So the yellow flag out there in the background. Shout out to Isaac Welsh Auto Sport, who joins us in the SlipStream live chat. Hope you're enjoying the day, and we look forward to you enjoying a full race day. He's looking forward to Junior Rotax. Aren't we all? Always full of action, Junior Max. Pretty much stamp it down at the start of the day as being one of, if not the race with all the action. And given that any one of probably 12 drivers can take victories at various circuits, it is probably the one that does have the greatest depth in terms of its top 10 to 15 drivers. Drummond with the fastest lap of the race so far on the previous lap, 0.2 faster, but running out of time to try and close back in on Zain Sofawoglu, who's been given the hurry up and does indeed extend the gap out to 2 seconds on this occasion. As in the background, the Ellis Holt, Jenson O'Connor, and that's Cooper Galloway in the 32. Hugh Riley's with the train in front as we pick up Sam Hope and Daniel Thompson making their way out of the first chicane. Thompson, this will probably be his local track, in fact, from Scunthorpe, although Lincolnshire is absolutely massive, so but yeah, this will be his local track. The current Teesside O-plate holder, bit of pedigree in the family as well. Uncle Steve, the 1997 Super 1 Cadet champion. Gap down slightly again, but certainly not enough to trouble Zain Sofawoglu at the front of this race. 10 seconds on the clock, so a lap and a half as he makes his way down and through the back chicane. There's traffic in front, but not that I think that he'll catch it. And if he does, he's got enough time to pick it off. Ralph Ewer, though, in third place, is certainly not settling for it. Closing up on Jenson Drummond, corner by corner. Final lap board then now is out for Zain Sofawoglu. Drummond, Ewer and Riley. In fact, I think they may well catch the traffic, certainly the leader. Is there another swing of the pendulum in this final? Managed to pick one off into the back chicane. One more for Zain Sofawoglu. He'll just go down the inside nicely on the brakes. Ralph Ewer's down the inside of Jenson Drummond at Caravan Corner. They'll run side by side up towards the complex, but I think Ewer's managed to get it done. Lap traffic for them to contend with as well. They make their way through. Out of the final corner though, Zain Sofawoglu wins round 7 from Ralph Ewer, Jenson Drummond and Hugh Riley. Trophies again down to 6th. We'll see Ellis Holt and Jenson O'Connor taking silverware home. He holds on to 6th place by a little over 1/10 of a second from the 32 of Cooper Galloway. Charlie Cale, Max Stone and James Hudson in front of Buster Scott. A day to forget for the championship leader coming into this race weekend in the 85. He's going to finish down in P11, some 3.5 seconds away from the top 10. Alfie Ward finishes P12. I think he'll be disappointed with that given his performance at Clay Pigeon. Matty Smith finishes P13. Ezra Robinson, Matthews and Eleanor Shelby Parsonage complete the top 15 in front of Archie Johnson and Jackson Boots with Daniel Thompson, Daniel DeBrio and Sam Hope, Ralph Dempsey, and then your drivers that unfortunately did not have the cleanest of races. Unfortunately, Tommy Delaney, he was off on the outside near Marshall Post 5. Rowan Reed finishes a lap down at the end as well. Cole Parrish and Lucas Howling barely got going, unfortunately, in that one. Parrish stationary after a couple of laps on the outside of Post 5. Lucas Howling in the gravel down at the first corner. They're going to have a long trek to go and collect that one back. It's time for what I normally regard as my favourite class. Action from start to finish. It's time for Army M1. The 51 of Shay Downey will be on pole position. There he is on the left-hand side with the orange helmet. On the right-hand side, the 18 of Jules Nash. Oakley Rudman there in the green helmet. Just waiting for the get-go. We've got carts just being recovered, so we'll run you through a grid for Army M1. Standing start, Shay Downey and Jules Nash on the front row, Teddy Smith and Oakley Rudman in front of Jack Rossi Minot, who turned 7 in the week on Wednesday. He starts alongside Jed Evans on row number 3. Row 4, George Miller and Nicholas Answer, Gabriel Chew and Isaac Taylor with Henry Exton and Maverick Reddick on row number 6. Then it's Shana Gomi and Albert Omi, Briella Stevens and Stanley Thurston with James Talbot and Zachary Das in P18. P19, Presley Knight, he starts alongside Rex Everard with Frank Tingle and Timothy Robinson as well, completing your grid. So a quick look back at the race day so far. And it's been a day of 2 halves for your championship leader, Presley Knight, removed from the standings in heat number 1 for a technical infringement, only to come back and win heat number 2. Points, though, still lacking after that opening race infringement. Sees him starting well down the order. So it's going to be a long slog for Presley Knight. Who, on track at least, won that opening race of the day. So just waiting for the track to clear. 5 seconds on the board, lights go out and we're away and racing in Army M1. Jules Nash is on the outside, he's got a good start, but I don't think he's going to be able to move in. He needs to start moving across to the inside unless he's going to get edged out by the 19 of Teddy Smith. And Smith almost got in that gap that was left for him by Jules Nash, but it is going to be Shay Downey who's going to lead us up to the back bus stop for the first time, and Teddy Smith takes a huge chunk of curb, rails that curb like prime Tony Hawk, and manages to come out miraculously facing in the right direction. And I think may well have only lost 1 or 2 places. Oakley Rudman up into 3rd place, so Downey will lead us through from Jules Nash. There's Teddy Smith, I think, down in P5 after a heart-stopping moment for the youngster. So Downey leads then from Jules Nash, Jack Rossi Minot and Oakley Rudman. Teddy Smith, George Miller, Nicholas Answer, Henry Exton, Jed Evans, Isaac Taylor in his Super 1 debut weekend, running inside the top 10. Another local driver from Bourne in Lincolnshire is wide, and with a bit of oversteer goes the O-plate of Jack Rossi Minot out of 3rd place. He caught the rear of the kart in front, and that just sent him a little bit light on the rear end. So it was more about himself than any other driver. Where's Presley Knight? P13 on the opening lap, 5 places gained from when he came over the timing line, 6 from when he started, so he'd already made a place up by the time he got to the start line, although he was starting some 50 metres or so behind it. See whether he's made any more gains this time round. There he is in the black kart in the background, indeed up to 11th. And that all black with the blue helmet and Bit of a gap in front of him, so there he's going to go down the inside of the 22 as well of Briella Stevens from 19th up inside the top 10 in a little over 2 laps for Presley Knight. At the front though, Shay Downey. Moving away. Half a second faster on the previous lap was Shay Downey. 3 wide down the far end, one driver in the middle there getting a little bit roughed up. With one driver to the inside, then the outside. Downey's best finish of the season in terms of final positions was a 3rd place at the previous round at Clay Pigeon. Gaps going out even further. The stationary is Isaac Taylor. Debut weekend in Super 1 comes to an unfortunate early end for the 95. Pace has been good though, and hopefully he's looking forward to tomorrow. It's a cruel game at times, is motorsport. He won't realise it yet, but it will provide him with the resilience later in life when things aren't quite going to plan. We had a kart going very slowly further down the order. I think Teddy Smith is going to fall down the order. Still hasn't come through and over the timing line yet, and we've got a waved yellow down at Marshall Post 6. I think that kart has just slowly come to a halt. He's on the curb and can't get off it, trying to move his own kart away and off the racing line. Superb, but I appreciate he's out of the race and I'll be disappointed, but superb by Teddy Smith to try and get his car off the track and out of the way of his fellow competitors. Gap at the front still fairly equidistant over the last 2 laps at 9/10 of a second. Four minutes on the clock as they head up towards the timing line. Gap was 9/10 of a second. It's down to half a second as Shay Downey is being reeled in by the trio of karts behind him. Jack Rossi-Minot, Jules Nash and Oakley Rudman. All with eyes on the top prize. Minot, who will be effectively the championship leader at the end of today, after the issues that Presley Knight has had. They are only 3 points apart. Teddy Smith as well with problems. He was only 16 points off the lead. He could have made a big gain as well, but he's out of this final. Jules Nash will be taking some strong points out of 3rd place as it stands, as will Oakley Rudman. Downey 6th in the championship coming into this race weekend. A pair of 3rds in heats, but has largely been in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th area, but finds himself with 3 minutes to go, leading the final here at round 7. As Nash is down a place and almost right up the rear wheel there of Oakley Rudman. We've got a great battle going on in the bottom right-hand corner as well. It's currently being led by the 27 of Albert Omi for 16th place, all the way down to Rex Everard in 20th. We'll try and keep picking that one up in the picture-in-picture. We are a kart missing. And it's Jules Nash. He's fallen a little bit down the order. I know we went up onto the back wheel of Oakley Rudman earlier on, but not enough that I thought that it would have cost him the best part of 20 kart lengths. And who's that in 5th place in the all-black kart? That's Presley Knight, all the way up to P5, and he's still got time. Started this race in 19th place, and is now 2.1 seconds off Shay Downey at the front, and only needs the leaders to start squabbling for a few corners, and he will be straight back into this. fastest lap by him on the previous lap was 0.8 of a second quicker than the race leader. Has to find a way past Jules Nash first though, and Nash isn't going to make it easy. In fact though, Knight's already through up at Caravan Corner. 3 to go at the end of this one. The gap to the lead was 2.1 seconds for Presley Knight. I think it's going to be lower than that. It could be 1.5 seconds as they come through. There he is at 1.3 for Knight as we pick up the 33 of Timothy Robinson, battling with James Talbot, Rex Everard as well. Zachary Das in the mix for things in that battle as well. Been trying to pick that up on the picture-in-picture throughout. We're probably going to pick it up a little bit more at the head of the train as they head up towards that back chicane, and that looked like Oakley Rudman was potentially going for a move on Shea Downey. Downey's defended and still leads. There's this train of 5. Leaders will be up at Caravan Corner. Downey still leading that train at the front. Although down the inside for the lead, I've just seen it off camera on the way in. I think Oakley Rudman's going to come out the final corner leading the way he is. 2 laps to go. Oakley Rudman leads from Shea Downey. Jack Rossi Minot behind him is Presley Knight as the door closed on Jack Rossi Minot. Jules Nash is still in the mix as well. Here comes Jack Rossi Minot trying to edge it down the inside. Knight's going to try. Oh, Knight's into the side. Back of the driver in front in a full 360 by Presley Knight. He went into the back of Jack Rossi Minot, tipped himself into a half spin, and Jules Nash finished it off for him. Might want to see that one again at the end of the race, but we're not going to have time to clock it between now and the last lap board coming out. Oakley Rudman will lead us round. Has taken heat victories in Super 1 this season. 5 heat victories, in fact, for Oakley Rudman. But he's yet to stand on the top step. Here comes Jack Rossi Minot trying to get down the inside of Shea Downey. Neither of the 2 drivers in the top 2 have won a final so far this season. Jack Rossi Minot has. He won the final at Clay Pigeon. His first final victory of the season. That battle going on in front is still raging, but the leaders aren't going to catch them. Oakley Rudman up towards Caravan Corner for the final time. Wide out onto the curb, using every inch of Fulbeck tarmac as he makes his way up towards the complex for the final time. Needs the focus up and out of the final corner. He's celebrating already, and rightly so. Oakley Rudman wins his first HWE BIM Services Super 1 Championship final of the season from Shea Downey and Jack Rossi Minot. Jules Nash, Jed Evans, Presley Knight falling down to 6th place on the final lap, having recovered to P5 after the spin earlier on. Finishes in front of George Miller, Nicholas Answer, Stanley Thurston and Henry Exton, your top 10. In, again, another enthralling IAME M1 final. Oakley Rudman then, for the first time, takes victory in the Super 1 Championship. His arm still in the air, having celebrated over start finish, and it's still in the air by the time he's making his way into the pit lane, celebrating that, and rightly so. Rudman then from Shea Downey. Jack Rossi Minot, who may well take the championship lead overnight, finishes in front of Jules Nash, Jed Evans and Presley Knight. George Miller, Nicholas Answer, Stanley Thurston, Henry Exton are your top 10, in front of Briella Stevens, Frank Tingle, Maverick Reddick and Gabriel Chu in P14. Chernagomi, Rex Everard in his debut weekend in Super 1 finishes P16. Timothy Robinson, James Talbot and Albert Omi, with Zachary Das, Teddy Smith and Isaac Taylor, the final 2, unfortunately not seeing the checkered flag. So it was a charge through the field from Presley Knight, and it gave himself a... Let's see if we can get a replay of the incident that unfortunately took his chances away. Keep an eye out on the number 16 car in the background. He was looking to get a bit of a switch back, and as the lines crossed over there, he's just tags the back of Jack Rossi Minot. Jules Nash with nowhere to go, although to be fair, it probably did Presley Knight a favour, because if not, he'd have been fully facing in the wrong direction and would have had to have slotted back in, but helped out massively by Jules Nash. So we're 4 races down, so as is the thing that's happening at the moment, I'm going to take a pointless and needless hydration break, and I'll be back in about 5 seconds to take you through the grid for our next class, which is Mighty Cadet. And we're back. I've made my way over to the touchline. The Alpha boss has told me everything that I've done wrong, and now I'm going to put things right for the second half of the finals. Right then, grids will be with you very shortly for Mighty Cadet, as Jacob Amos on the far side in the orange and black AMD sponsored helmet. Well, he's just waiting to bring us out, mainly with his feet up on the steering wheel as he takes a relaxed stance. He took a heat victory, and he'll start on the second row behind the championship leader, Daniel Stangery. He will be looking to extend that lead this weekend, because Jax Wong, who's second in the championship, isn't here. Frank Pearson, he's third in the championship and third on the grid. He starts alongside Freddie Howell, with Harry Voss and Gianluca Hudson on row number 3. Row 4, Emily Christie and Archie Annesley, with Samuel Kenny, your 9th and final Mighty Cadet runner. The field will make its way around shortly. It's Freddie Howell on the far side there, just getting the kart to go, and getting a little bit of help from those behind him. So, Mighty Cadet will come round. Daniel Stangery in the RCE colours. The red kart with the black line down the middle of the nose is Jacob Amos. Frank Pearson's got a little bit of yellow on his machine. But it's mainly black and white. No second chicane on the rolling up lap. That saves us a little bit of time, and normally does keep things tidy, but we've got 1 or 2 karts there still trying to warm their tyres up, and in doing so, they go for the same piece of tarmac. So cadets coming round then, trying to be slowed down a little bit as they head towards the tram lines. We're away in racing. A contact warning on the rolling up lap there for the 19 of Archie Annesley. But it's going to be Daniel Stangery who's going to lead us up towards the first corner, but a really good run there by Jacob Amos, who took the risk that nobody was going to stick a nose down the inside of his number 71 machine to carry as much speed as possible and not scrub it off round the right-hand hairpin, a increasingly tightening radius of a right-hand hairpin in the first corner here at Fullbeck. If you have time later on, go and have a quick look on Google Earth, Google Maps or something similar, and that is not a traditional hairpin in terms of an equal radius all the way around. It's quite open on entry, but then tightens in the second part into a much tighter corner. Daniel Stangery then will lead us over the line from Jacob Amos. That's Frank Pearson then in third place in the number 17 machine. Trying to pick out the number on that Synergy kart behind. It could well be. And you've got the 17 of Gianluca Hudson in front of Harry Voss. So we're just trying to pick out who that is in 4th place. Two leaders though on a little bit of a breakaway. There's Amos and Stangery, and Amos is going to go down the inside there in the second part of the complex, and we have got a change for the lead. Daniel Stangerian's going to come back at him though, as Jacob Amos didn't close the door, left it wide open. He's going to come straight back at Daniel Stangerian though. Not quite close enough. Frank Pearson still in that 3rd place. Still trying to pick out the number on that Synergy machine behind, who's now challenging. Be able to do that when they come past the commentary position, but on the previous lap we did have Amos and Stangerian side by side on the screen, so at the same time wasn't looking out the window to try and pick up that kart in 4th place, but Stangerian and Amos still lead, and they are still trying to exchange positions. So it's Frank Pearson, so 77 of Freddie Howell, thinking that in 4th place. 2 karts behind are Gianluca Hudson and the O-plate of Harry Voss. Six on the clock, so a 1/3 of the race in the bag. Howell now up into 3rd place then in front of Frank Pearson, but they've got Gianluca Hudson and Harry Voss for company in this final charge for the last step on the podium. Voss just falling away slightly off the back there. Howell going well there in the 77, starting at the same time to pull away now from Frank Pearson. Voss in the orange colours just behind, just trying to keep in touch. One of the younger drivers on this mighty cadet grid, having completed 2 Bambino years, 1 in Coma and then 1 in Mighty, before moving up then into the cadet variant. So at the moment hasn't spent more than 1 year in a class. I think that will end at the end of this year. I think he's likely to spend a few in cadets, hopefully staying with Mighty as well. Brother Jack racing in Mighty, the smaller variant. So Daniel Stangerian, the championship leader, 26 points coming into this race weekend from Jax Wong. Wong not here this weekend in Lincolnshire, so that will give Daniel Stangerian an opportunity to put more points on the board. It doesn't rule Jax Wong out completely, as we mentioned earlier on. 10 rounds count from the 12 contested, so you can miss a race weekend, or if you contest them all, drop your 2 lowest scoring weekends. Stangerian and Amos then from Howell, Pearson. Then it's the 17 of Gianluca Hudson, the O-plate of Harry Voss in the background there in the orange. Leader still nose to tail. Jacob Amos probably 2 or 3 kart lengths behind Daniel Stangerian, but still within touching distance. And with the exception of the lap and a half earlier where they changed places 3 or 4 times, they've largely been compliant with each other since, and are probably just taking a little bit of a breath as they gear up for the final few laps of this mighty cadet final. Notice the Mighties are a lot less inclined to rattle the curbs, particularly in the complex chicane, which the one on the left doesn't have a tyre on the inside, whereas the two, particularly this one coming up, has got a fairly large sort of trailer tyre off a tractor's trailer, just to stop people cutting the corners too much. But the one they're coming up to at the moment, you're going in flat out on the left, and you can flatten this curb and then get hard on the brakes. Noted really that the Mighty Cadets don't do that quite as much as you'll certainly see Honda, who are out next, absolutely trying to take a rolling pin to those curbs. Amos not quite close enough in the first half of the lap, but then seems to close back up on the back of Daniel Stangarian through the second half, the twistier complex down the far end of the circuit that they're coming up to. Howell is comfortable in third, the driver that, since joining us at the second round at GYG and then at Clay Pigeon, wasn't inside the top 10 at the first round, then was barely outside the top 10 in the second round, and is now going to find himself on the podium in his third race weekend as it stands here in the HWE BIM Services Super 1 Championship, currently running a superb third place in front of Frank Pearson. With 3 laps to go here. Jackson's Harry Voss has found a way past Gianluca Hudson. Leaders crossing the timing line now. So we may well have a waved yellow up at the far end. We've had a cart off at the far end of the circuit, but I think they've rejoined well in advance of the leaders. So we'll give Jacob Amos full green circuit to potentially challenge Daniel Stangarian in the final lap and a half here. Across the timing line with around about 20 seconds to go. Amos looks really strong through the chicane. As Daniel Stangarian now will start to park the number 22 machine in slightly more defensive positions to prevent Jacob Amos from getting a good run. Into the first chicane for the final time, and Amos with a little bit of a slide, but it's kept him reasonably close to Daniel Stangarian. He can get as good a run through this chicane as he had on the previous lap. There's certainly a dive down the inside into Caravan Corner if he can stay within a few kart lengths of Daniel Stangarian. He's there, but I'm not sure he's going to be quite close enough. I thought there would be the opportunity for Jacob Amos to try and have a go at taking this victory away from Daniel Stangarian. Out of the final corner though. Round 7 goes to Daniel Stangarian. Jacob Amos is still happy enough with his day's work. Freddie Howell is going to take his first Super 1 podium in third place in front of Frank Pearson. Then it's going to be Harry Voss and Gianluca Hudson. We await the 23 of Emily Christie as she comes out of the final corner in the 23 machine. She will finish in P7. And then we're going to have Samuel Kenny crosses the line now to finish in 8th place, and Archie Annesley, who was the driver that spun down the far end, finishes in P9. So Daniel Stangarian then from Jacob Amos, Freddie Howell and Frank Pearson, with Harry Voss, Gianluca Hudson, Emily Christie and Samuel Kenny with Archie Annesley. Your final of the 9. So the clock resets, 9 minutes once again. This time it's Honda Cadet. Henry Colborne then on home turf. He'll start from pole position. He's got the 22 of Oliver Ratton alongside. Ratton has been on second place since qualifying and has not been able to come out of the first corner any higher than 5th place in either of those races and has had to then charge back through the field. Chris Doshi in his first Super 1 outing of the season as well is running very well. Has been inside the top 3 for most of the day. Phoebe Shelton, the championship leader, starts in 4th place. Reggie Duffusey, who struggled in qualifying, only set a handful of laps before the kart ground to a halt, starts in P5. Nico Veselovsky in P6. Alfie B starts in 7th place with Timon Pashak and George Bridger, completing your 9 Honda Cadet runners for this weekend. Rolling start for the Hondas. There's the 24 of Reggie Duffusey. See his brother Jerry out later on in junior Rotax. Colborne there in the green and white with black accents BRK chassis at his home circuit at Fulbeck. On one hand it gives you track knowledge, on the other applies a certain amount of pressure that you should be able to perform at a circuit you are very, very familiar with. Perform he has so far today. 2 heat victories to his name. Won largely in the second part of the race. He's been pursued in the early part of the races by Chris Doshi and then by Oliver Ratton, but by the end of the race the gaps have been out to a second. Will that be the same? We've got the 50 drawing alongside of George Bridger, but we are away in racing as Henry Colborne will lead us down towards the first corner. Defensive line on the inside, hard on the brakes, and again Oliver Ratton can't come out any higher than P5. It may well be P4 if he can draw alongside Phoebe Shelton, but he's giving himself work to do on every occasion, is Oliver Ratton. He is, for me, one of the fastest Hondas in the country, easily top 10 in terms of Hondas. Here's the 22 of Oliver Ratton, but on this occasion here this weekend, a learning day for him in terms of these race starts. Hondas at a lot of other championships do standing starts, so it may well be that he's a little bit out of verse on that, but expect him to come through as Doshi takes a defensive line to Reggie Duffusey. Gap is 0.4 of a second at the front, with Henry Colborne having that gap. Ratton is the one to watch for me at the moment, number 22 in 4th place. Takes himself a couple of laps to get into it, but when he does, will move himself up. By then, though, he just needs to be mindful that Colborne might be home and dry. Into the complex. Ratton is close enough to Duffusey. I think that the could well see a move on this lap for that 3rd place, although he takes a move to the inside behind Chris Doshi. Ratton again close enough, and that's a late dive down the inside of Reggie Duffusey. Normally you see the driver moves out early to line that one up. Oliver Ratton waited until the final millisecond before diving down the inside of Reggie Duffusy. That's brought Phoebe Shelton and Nico Veselovsky back into things a little bit there. Alfie B in 7th place, Timon Pajak and George Bridger 8th and 9th respectively. Here comes Oliver Ratton. Is he going to be close enough to get down the inside of Chris Doshi? Yes, he is. And the two MJR carts swap positions. Gap, though, nearly 7/10 of a second from Oliver Ratton to Henry Colborne. Although Ratton did set the fastest lap on the previous, but he did have a tow. Now he's in a little bit of clear air and won't be benefiting quite as much from that. Can he reel in the home hero? Colborne, another driver, well down in points because he missed a race weekend when it clashed with somewhere else. So he'll be a driver that, if he has aspirations of winning this championship, it will go down to round 12, the Sunday of Shennington at the end of August. Ratton again faster on the previous lap by a 1/10.5. And Colborne, if he does get reeled in here by Oliver Ratton, will need to be very, very mindful that points-wise, this is Ratton's first round of the season. He is not battling Oliver Ratton for points. He's not battling Chris Doshi for points. It's Reggie Duffusy and Phoebe Shelton that Henry Colborne. So a third in front of those two is effectively a win for Colborne. He won't have it, I can assure you of that. He wants the win outright, not just a win against the two other drivers that he's battling for the championship. But 4.5 minutes to go, and it's going to have to be a smart run here from Henry Colborne as Reggie Duffusy is down the inside of Chris Doshi. Doshi's going to have track position though, because Duffusy wasn't able to run alongside. Duffusy squeezing him to the inside. Doshi holds on to 3rd place. Shelton and Veselovsky in the mix as well, just off the back. Gap for the lead now is down to millimetres rather than tenths of a second. No point looking at the gap in terms of time when Oliver Ratton can smell the exhaust fumes of Henry Colborne's number 75 machine in front of him. He made a late dive down the inside of Duffusy earlier on. Still 3.5 minutes on the clock, 52 seconds-ish is the lap times for our leaders. So plenty of time left yet, still 4 or maybe 5 laps. And they cross the line. I think it's going to be 5 from now as they commence lap number 7. Oliver Ratton right behind Henry Colborne. At the moment, just waiting and biding his time as Duffusy is down the inside of Chris Doshi. They're going to embed each other's side pods with the words Vega Cadetti off the side of the tyres. Duffusy is up into 3rd, and Doshi may well find himself down another place here as Phoebe Shelton goes down the inside. I'm not sure there was contact there. As Doshi then rejoins the circuit, he's going to be beached on that curb. And there's not a lot of Marshall assistance down that far end. He's got himself going. Marshall's job, of course, primary, is to wave yellows. Try and catch that one at the end of the race. But I don't think there was any, if a lot, of contact there. I think Shelton was just down the inside and Doshi ran out of track on the outside. I may well be wrong. That's why we have replays. It's been a strong day for Chris Doshi up until that point. Do hope he takes the positives away, and we'll see him back tomorrow for the second of 2 race days here in Super 1. Same set of tyres, of course, for all of our karts. So 1 set of tyres, 2 full race weekends, 2 qualifiers, 2 heats and a final, providing the drivers with a huge amount of track time in the grand scheme of things. 3 laps to go. Henry Colborne in front of Oliver Ratton. 0.2 of a second is the gap as the 88 of Timon Pazak and the 50 of George Bridger make their way round, battling it out over 8th place through the complex. Colborne and Ratton with a gap of 2.2 seconds now to Reggie Duffy, who toiled finding a way past Chris Doshi, but now finds himself fairly comfortable in that battle for 3rd and 4th. He's got Phoebe Shelton with him. Doshi a few laps ago was off and on the grass, and that took Nico Veselovsky out of the way as well in terms of having to take evasive action. 2 to go, and has Oliver Ratton learned enough about Henry Colborne in the last couple of laps to know that he's going to leave the door open at turn 1, and down the inside goes Oliver Ratton up towards the back chicane. Colborne second, but still in front of his 2 championship rivals, Duffy and Shelton behind. Shelton down the inside of Duffy for 3rd place on track. Good move up at Caravan Corner. Ratton, I'm fairly sure, will defend in the run up towards the first chicane. Colborne will go into the slipstream and then comes out wide early on. Won't go round the outside, but needs to get the run and try and get to the inside as they run up towards the first corner. The nose is down the inside. Colborne is through. Is Ratton going to get the switch back? Colborne set that one up from coming out of the final corner. Kept Ratton fairly tight into the first chicane and was already alongside as they made their way out. Up and bouncing over the curb. Up round the left-hander at Marshall's post 5. Colborne will park the kart to the inside and be hard on the brakes up towards Caravan Corner. They're going to get a run. They're going to be side by side, are they, on the exiters? Wide on the outside goes Oliver Ratton. Hard onto the brakes into the complex. Can Ratton get the switch back? Henry Colborne has used local track knowledge to take the victory here from Oliver Ratton. Colborne and Ratton, your top 2. 3 seconds clear of Shelton and Duffy in 3rd and 4th. Nico Veselovsky finishes P5. Alfie B on debut will take a trophy home in Honda in P6. The unfortunate Chris Doshi in 7th place. Timon Pajak and George Bridger complete your grid in 8th and 9th. Henry Colborne and Oliver Ratton to the line, a 1/10 of a second between them. The day, though, belongs to Henry Colborne, unbeaten throughout. Pole position, 2 heat wins and a final. Sees Henry Colborne take maximum points here from round 7 of the HWE BIM Services Super 1 Championship. It looked like it was going to be a battle for 3rd place that was going to go 4 deep. Unfortunately, it only ended up with 2 as Chris Doshi went wide and off the circuit down at Marshall post 5. Here he is in the middle of the 3. Takes some curb, so does Shelton. Shelton's on the inside. And as they come round there looks to be fair a bit of daylight as Chris Doshi goes wide and into the barrier on the outside and then perched up onto the curb on the outside. Did manage to get himself going, rejoined in 7th place, and will certainly be one to watch here tomorrow. Next up then, it's time for a nice big bumper all-action grid of junior Rotaxers. Juniors then, drawing a big crowd. See if we can spot anybody that we know. Riley Bishop there in the bottom row, in the black shirt, black shorts. Claire Murdoch, the motorsport mentor, to the left of him, far left of him with the blonde hair. So on pole position will be the 53, a first Super 1 pole position for Jake Anders, the young upstart, certainly a star to watch. Jude Pudderfoot will start alongside him on the front row. Laurie McVeigh and Isaac Jameson with Alex McCullough and Warwick Milam on row 3. Row 4, Travis Dolby and Cian Hundle, Tigger and Gregorian and Harry Ward are on row number 5 with Fletcher Grounds and the 12, and then Nelson Taylor in P12. Charlie Halewood and Amy Peacock in front of Ryan Wheatley and Jake Cozzy, Aidan Young and Toby Dukes on row number 9. Row 10 will see Tyler Banks and Elijah Hartley, with Daniel Barton and Jake Richardson in front of Jerry Douglasy and Nathan Rond. The final runner, Timmy Shahini in the number 77, although doesn't look like he's out, is he? Yes, he is there. He is coming through in the 77. It was Nathan Rond bringing up the tail end of the field. Championship leader Jake Cozzy outside the top 10. Amy Peacock second in the championship outside the top 10. Elijah Hartley, rinse and repeat, also outside of the top 10. Keep an eye out for our championship favourites charging through the order. Potentially the highest championship top 5 runner, Laurie McVeigh, goes off the second row. But if the heats are anything to go by, so far today it's been a 2-horse race between Jake Anders and Jude Pudderfoot. Anders, historically in both the heats, has managed to break away early. Pudderfoot's reeled him in, then they've had a battle in the final few laps of the race. Anders on the left in the green, Pudderfoot on the right in the white and black. Will it be one of those two? The smart money says yes, but this is Junior Rotax and anything can happen. Anders with the blue helmet dictating the pace. Up towards the acceleration line they go. We power down and we are away and racing in Junior Rotax as they make the long run all the way up. Everybody trying to fight to get to the inside. Pudderfoot's lost a few places. He's going to fall down. He manages to get one back as he goes down the inside of Alex McCullough at the first corner, but it's Laurie McVeigh who's setting off in pursuit of Jake Anders. We've got 2 or 3 off into the barriers on the right hand side. Anders leads as we'll pick up who was off on the opening lap there, but dust from the dry Fullbeck ground is still blowing across the circuit. Anders leads then from Laurie McVeigh, Jude Pudderfoot and Alex McCullough, Isaac Jameson, Cian Hundle, Tigger and Gregorian, Warwick Milam, Travis Dolby, Jake Cozzy up 6 places from 16th to 10th on the opening lap. Amy Peacock gains 4 as well, up to P11. The championship front runners looking to claim some points out of this final. Looks like it was Ryan Wheatley who was through the wall. Fletcher Groans as well was involved in that incident. He's currently 5 seconds off the back of the pack. Wheatley didn't cross the timing line as Jude Pudderfoot squeezes down the inside of Laurie McVeigh, but that allows Alex McCullough to jump them both. He'll go 4th up into 2nd. Cian Hundle's in the mix as well, as is Isaac Jameson, and they are handing it to Jake Anders on a plate. As Pudderfoot sideways trying to find a way back through on Alex McCullough, the Manxman, in 3rd place. In front of Laurie McVeigh, Cian Hundle trying to find a way past Isaac Jameson. McCullough up 3 places, then down an extra 1 from 2 from the start. Cozzy the fastest lap on the lap number 2, still going well inside the top 10 as Laurie McVeigh goes down the inside, as does Amy Peacock there, trying to make a move on what I believe was potentially Travis Dolby. Anders with a gap of 1.3 seconds now. Cozzy up to 9th, Peacock in 10th. Warwick Milam, who started this race in 6th place. As wide goes Alex McCullough. Through goes Laurie McVeigh with one of the easiest overtakes he'll do all day. Putterfoot now up into that 2nd place. Jake Anders leading. Putterfoot though has been faster in the middle phase of every race they've had so far. So this one is not over yet. Gap down, 1/10 of a second. Drivers locking the rear wheels, sliding the carts into the braking zone of the first chicane. Up towards hairpin 1. Good first showing as well for Tigran Gregorian in 7th place, just off the back there in the red cart, white helmet. This train of 4 just in front of him. Be under pressure soon though from Warwick Milam. Behind him, more importantly, your championship front runners Jake Cozzy and Amy Peacock. Who's down the inside. Looked like that was Cozzy making moves. Potentially on Warwick Milam. Peacock managed to find a way through as well, 8th and 9th respectively. At the front, gap is down again by another 1/10 and a half. If he can keep this up, Jude Putterfoot will have one hell of a battle with 2 laps to go. Took a 1/10 and a half out of Jake Anders over the last 2 laps. Gap was just over a second. Anything that Putterfoot can do. It's down again, but with the fastest lap of the race, which has then been broken on a number of occasions, all the way down now to Elijah Hartley in 15th place, setting the fastest lap. Fastest as well in sector 2. McVeigh strong in sector 3, and he'll need to be to keep Alex McCullough behind him in 3rd and 4th place respectively. Jameson, Kean Hundle, as we've got a slow moving 58 of Daniel Barton at the first chicane. Was 20 seconds, that will drop him down I think to 24 behind Fletcher Grounds. The Grounds now showing us 1 lap down, so he may well have peeled off into the pit lane as well. Another. Oh, Jake Cozzy has just been overtaken there by Warwick Milam. Milam feeling that Cozzy was being a little bit too defensive, and then Cozzy. We were straight on, so we didn't quite see that, but there's Aidan Young as well and Timmy Shahini going off. But Warwick Milam missing the chicane, but it did look like he had a little bit of help maybe. We were straight on, so not 100% sure on that, but you can just tell when a kart's a little bit unstable on the brakes. Jake Cozzy and Amy Peacock. Got a waved yellow down at the far end. We've had 1 off. I think that's Elijah Hartley off, who's rejoining, and 1 more. That's Fletcher Grounds' number 31 machine, I think, as well. And the stationary kart on the right was Tigran Gregorian, who was running in 7th place and is now 23rd and out of this race. Anders and Putterfoot, the gap down to 0.8 of a second on the previous lap, and that looks a little bit tighter than that this time. Wave yellows in that far complex of corners. Half a second now is the gap with 2 minutes to go. And to be fair, McVeigh, McCullough, Jameson, Hundle is not too far back, but certainly we've got 5. There is Gregorian's kart now safely moved away, and we are green throughout the track. Half a second, the gap, but it's visually closer. Lap on lap, corner by corner. 3 laps to go as they come out of the final corner. Jake Anders and Jude Pudderfoot. More yellow flags down at the complex as the field comes through. It's Jake Cossey's falling down the order, the championship leader. 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th. Still not crossed the line yet as Jake Cossey. There he is. He's off and he's in the wall on the outside. He's carried the speed in. He's going to jump over the barrier into the pit lane, but there'll be no overtaking into the complex. That will please Jake Anders far more than it will anybody else here at Fullbeck for the next 2 minutes. He would like them to take a long time sorting that kart out, but they were green again. 2 laps to go. Anders on the brakes up towards the first chicane. Oh, there's a little bit between them. Isaac Jameson's through the chicane as well. Pudderfoot's down the inside of Anders. Anders is going to get the switch back. Side by side, up towards the back chicane. Hard on the brakes. Anders is back into the lead. We go 4 deep for the lead now. Then McVeigh and McCullough are back into the mix as well. Down the inside goes Laurie McVeigh on Jude Pudderfoot. Pudderfoot rides it out. Up towards the final corner. Pudderfoot needs to be careful with that front fairing. Doesn't need to get it caught into the rear bumper. Doesn't need to undo all of the hard work. 5-place penalty, not 5 seconds here. Oh, there's contact again. They run into the back. Pudderfoot's round. Pudderfoot's round. And Jake Anders is going to drive off into the sunset. Jake Anders at the front. Laurie McVeigh in second place. Alex McCullough, Isaac Jameson, Cian Hundle is going to be your top 5. It may well feel a little bit like an anticlimax, but Jude Pudderfoot tried absolutely everything. Down the inside goes McCullough. McCullough's coming through a dust cloud. There's him and Laurie McVeigh. Jameson's up into second place somehow. But for the first time, Jake Anders will win at Super 1 from Isaac Jameson, Laurie McVeigh, Cian Hundle and Warwick Milam, in front of a dust-covered Alex McCullough, Amy Peacock, Nelson Taylor, Harry Ward, Charlie Halewood. That completes your top 10. I've run out of breath. I'm going to take another break. What a race. What a final few laps. Junior Rotax, thank you very much. Jake Anders then by 1.5 seconds, but that does not tell the story of an enthralling Junior Max final. He takes the victory from Isaac Jameson, Laurie McVeigh, Cian Hundle and Warwick Milam, Alex McCullough, Amy Peacock, Nelson Taylor, Harry Ward and Charlie Halewood, with Toby Dukes, Nathan Ron from the back of the grid to 12th, Travis Dolby, Jake Richardson in P14, Elijah Hartley and Jerry Duppersey. Jude Pudderfoot finishes in 17th place in front of Aidan Young, Timish Uhini and Daniel Barton, with Tyler Banks, Jake Cossey, Tinker and Gregorian, Fletcher Grounds and Ryan Wheatley. Unfortunately, the final 5 not seeing the checkered flag. 2 to go, 3 to go in fact, and it's going to have to be a big one to beat that. We move on next to Mighty Super Cadet. Again, 9 minutes on the clock. Mighty Super Cadet, a championship split by 13 points, 16 between the top 3 and 22 between the top 4. Harry Stinson, Ansel Murray on the front row with Will Beattie and Casey Baker in front of Logan Jackson, and the W plate of Jacob Hutchinson. Row 4 will be Jaden Bond and Harry Watkinson, with Oscar Dudley and Brandon Hartley completing your 10. There is Will Beattie, hopefully with the name on the side of his helmet so we can spot who he is. So Mighty Super Cadets just waiting to get the go ahead from the dummy grid marshal, who at present is absent. There he is, on the left of the screen. Just waiting for greens at all posts. Greens at all posts we have, and the Mighty Supers make their way out onto the track. Harry Stinson, 740 points, leads the championship from Ansel Murray's 727. 3 back is Will Beattie, 6 from Beattie is Logan Jackson. All 4 of those drivers start inside the top 5, with Casey Baker the only non-top 5 championship runner inside the top 5 or top 4 here this weekend today. Field then making their way into the complex. Up towards the timing line. Stinson will lead us through then. Lights extinguished and we are away and racing at the first time of asking. Oh, we've got a spin. Is that Logan Jackson? I think it was, who just saw the karts in front of him getting progressively bigger and just tagged the rears and managed to hold it in the end into it was a 3/4 spin. So managed to all right. So Stinson leads. Ansel Murray, second in the championship, has dropped down into 4th place as they come up and over the timing line. I'll just keep talking. Apologies to those watching. We are having 1 or 2 technical issues in here, so I'll just keep talking as if it's a radio production. We'll just try and keep the things going the best we can. Casey Baker up into 2nd place. Will Beattie in 3rd. Ansel Murray in front of the W plate now in 5th place of Jacob Hutchinson. W coming from winning the special W plate meeting at Wunwell. Lead at the front. Harry Stinson is starting to break away here. Casey Baker holding on to that 2nd place and doing well in parking that kart where he needs to. Again, apologies, we're just having some PC issues, so that's why we were just taking a little bit of time to cut between different cameras, but we've managed to get back, I think, just in enough time as Ansel Murray is going to try and find a way past Casey Baker with a superb move all the way around the outside. Will Beattie already up into second place. Hutchinson in that 5th place as it stands. Trying to keep an eye out on where Logan Jackson is after that opening lap spin. Sent him well down the order, but it's the 1:48 of Jaden Bond who is in 6th place at the moment, and the final trophy paying position. So Stinson still leads then. Will Beattie, Ansel Murray, Casey Baker. The 4. Then we've got a bit of a gap back to Jaden Bond. Gap remains fairly equidistant. Jackson is now up into 7th place and will try and close it up onto the duo in front. Battle for second. Beattie, too much curb there by Beattie. Hasn't lost him a place, but will have lost him track time, that's for sure, compared to the race leader. Stinson's away at the front now, looking fairly comfortable as well. He's got his head down going forward. Jackson is up onto the back of Jaden Bond. Behind them we've got the 1:30 of Harry Watkinson. Brandon Hartley's with them as well, as is Oscar Dudley in the 1:77 machine. Stinson comfortable at the front. Beattie a little bit tidier this time through the back chicane. Casey Baker still within touching distance. Logan Jackson hasn't been able to find a way through on Hutchinson or Bond just yet. Two behind them is Harry Watkinson and Oscar Dudley. Then there's a bit of a gap back to Brandon Hartley. Stinson still clear and comfortable. Still 4 seconds or 4 minutes of this race to go. Ansel Murray edges the nose out down the inside of Will Beattie. Will Beattie wasn't quite far enough alongside, and Will Beattie has the door closed. Murray will have to think of another way. Contact warning coming up on the timing screen for the 191 of Will Beattie, so looks like he's been adjudged to have closed the door a little bit too firmly there on Ansel Murray in the run up towards the first corner. Murray not close enough this time, and Beattie with a big look over his shoulder. Generally always found that a couple of looks over the shoulder, and there's a bit of an invite to the cart behind to just send it down the inside. Beatty's got a gap. Really not been this far away since he was down in 4th place on Will Beatty. 2 minutes on the clock. Times are around about 50 seconds a lap, so minute and 40. We'll get round 4 laps to go then. The field make their way up towards the back chicane. This duo have broken away from Casey Baker, but this train of 3 behind, with Logan Jackson just behind Jacob Hutchinson, now in front of the 148 of Jaden Bond. Jackson just still trying to find the way through. Struggled really since that opening lap half spin. Field still fairly spread out, this train of 3, still with Jackson sandwiched between Jacob Hutchinson and Jaden Bond behind. Jackson trying to get a bit of a switch back there by hooking onto the curb. The driver from Macclesfield over in Cheshire only ever raced electric machinery. There's Ansel Murray trying to find his way through on Will Beatty. Will Beatty defending, Murray trying to go round the outside. Ansel Murray, a seasoned racer, lost count of the number of race victories I've commentated on that have involved Ansel Murray. On to the final lap then for Harry Stinson. Takes the checkered flag, and the victory for Harry Stinson from Will Beatty and then Ansel Murray. So Stinson, Beatty and then Ansel Murray are your top 3. Got a little bit caught out there that I thought we had an extra lap there before it went to last lap and then checkered flag, but it is what it is there, the checkered flag out, and in the end Harry Stinson could have probably got out and walked it to the checkered flag before he took that victory. So Stinson with the victory then from Will Beatty and Ansel Murray. Casey Baker finishes in 4th place, and then it was that battle behind between Hutchinson, Jackson and Jaden Bond. Next up then, as we admire the front end of the Super 1 debuting, pole-sitting Sam Dixon's kart, it's time for Inter-Rotax. An interesting development in the commentary box. I've just been offered a fruit pastel, so apologies for those of you watching, but you're going to listen to me chew for the next 10 seconds. I'll be kind, I'll mute the audio for a little bit. On debut then here in the Super 1 Championship, the 76 of Sam Dixon will start on pole position. Alongside him, runaway championship leader by 74 points is Charlie Gregg. Charlie Heffer and Charlie Ford are on row number 2. Toby Miles and Eva Jones, another debutant, will start her first Super 1 final from P6. Finley Thompson and Leyland Bradnam in front of TJ McLeish and Arlo Atwood, with Calvin Sherlock and Xavier Davidson on row number 6. Row 7, Amelia Hay in front of Ronnie Griffin, with Eli Romalo and Oliver Wynn. Aubrey Harrington Evans moves from Honda into Intermax for the first time, starts the final P17. Louis Gran alongside on row number 9. You can hear a lot of beeping in the background. That's when the drivers go over the start line of the timing loop. Or for those of you, it could well have also been my heart rate during that Junior Max final from earlier on. Aubrey Harrington Evans rolling to a halt before the car even makes it out of the dummy grid. Not the first time today. That number 41 machine has had some problems. Struggled to get out for the second heat as well, and had to roll off the back of the Might E Super Cadets. Car is now out and moving for Harrington Evans. First time today Dixon's gone off pole position. He's been on the outside of the front row for both of his heats. Charlie Gregg on qualifying on pole position, but it's been Dixon who has been victorious throughout the day so far. And he will lead them round in the penultimate final of round number 7. Out at the final corner they go, into the tram lines, and we are away and racing as Dixon will lead us all the way up. Gregg tries to get across to the inside and he's not going to manage. Oh, Charlie Gregg's tapped. It looks like he was tapped a little bit from the rear, but it's helped him out. He slid down the inside and up into second place. A little thank you card being made up tonight as he moves through into P2 in front of Charlie Heffer. So they make their way through. Charlie Ford just behind in the yellow race colours of Tom Day Racing. Dixon then. Got 3 wide round out of the final corner. Dixon from Gregg. Side by side, there's contact between 2 drivers, and then that's had a concertina effect all the way down the order. That's a very, very messy end to lap number 1 that involved Charlie Ford was one of the drivers involved. The 88, oh, contact, we've got drivers pitched up on top of each other. We've got the 88 is one of them. That's Ronnie Griffin. 15 is stationary as well, Oliver Wynn. And we've got a change to the lead in all of that. Charlie Gregg, he could have waited 30 seconds. We might have seen it, but Gregg leads, the championship leader then from Sam Dixon. Warnings coming in from what started that. I think we're going to see for the 99 of Eva Jones. Wouldn't be surprised to see one, right on cue for the 17 of Charlie Ford as well. 2 drivers that were involved in that early melee at the start line that then appeared to effectively kick everything off further down the order, all the way up towards that melee at turn number 1. Gregg, Dixon and Heffer then, the top 3, with daylight back now to Finley Thompson, who's come through from 7th to run P4. Gap going out at the front. The 2 leaders split by next to nothing as they came over the timing line, and by even less now as Sam Dixon retakes the prime berth. He moves down the inside of Charlie Gregg. Charlie Gregg in terms of points, 74 clear of TJ McLeish, who's in 5th place in the 74 machine. There he is, just coming through in the background in P5. But Ronnie Griffin in the 88 is off track now, out of the race, so we're down to 17 runners. And the 40 of Arlo Atwood is falling down the order as well. At the moment in the was running a little bit higher than we're down to 15th, 16th place now. Atwood previously in P8, so it looks like that's another driver out of the race. 16 runners then remaining, everybody from 8th place now. Xavier Davidson making up a spot as wide goes Dixon, and that's allowed Charlie Gregg to come through down the inside. Dixon with a little bit too much speed in there, but with just under 5 minutes to go, he's still got plenty of time to retake the lead here, and looks really strong out of the chicanes. Looks like he's got quite a lot of bottom end. By that I mean he's got the power out of the corner. We're talking about top end, it means he's got power at the end of the straight. Out of the way the kart is geared. It's not out of there, it's out of this chicane where Dixon 2 laps ago went down the inside to take the lead on Charlie Gregg. It's close enough here. Carbon copy of the move he did 2 laps ago. And Sam Dixon is through once again. He's not going to want to leave the door open like he did down the far end a lap or so ago, because the deeper we go into this race, the more Charlie Gregg is likely to park the kart as they argue over tarmac down the far end of the circuit up towards Caravan Corner. Dixon sliding back through. Superb camera shot there. Sam Dixon slides back through down the inside of Charlie Gregg. Dixon, look over the shoulder. Gregg's not going to have gone anywhere. Three minutes to go. A third of the race, plus 1 lap. Wide goes Dixon again. Just carried too much speed. Will Gregg have track position? No, he won't. And again though, Dixon going wide, needs to get the door closed, and through once again goes Charlie Gregg. And Sam Dixon at the moment is, in my opinion, slightly overdriving that kart. When he's got the kart in front of him to detail where the braking point is and where he needs to be, he is superb, and as he has been through the first 2 heats. But there's a win and a trophy on the line this time round. It's a little bit different, it matters a little bit more. And I just get the feeling that Charlie Gregg is going to have it scouted as down the inside. That looked like it was TJ McLeish on Toby Miles for 4th place in the background. And Dixon not quite as close this time on Charlie Gregg. Charlie Heffer's coming into this as well. He's closing in just behind. Dixon's going to have to, I think of somewhere else, because I do get the feeling Charlie Gregg's going to have it scouted up towards the first corner next time round. He'll come under the timing gantry. And there'll be 3 laps to go at the end of this lap. They will cross the timing line with around about 12 or 13 seconds on the clock next time round. 3 to go, and Dixon has got to get back to the head of this field early. Probably earlier than he realises, because Charlie Gregg, so far this season, on track at least, has won every final. He lost one earlier in the year because he picked up a 5th-place penalty, but on track, he has won every single final so far. Two laps to go, and again Dixon is falling away ever so slightly as Charlie Gregg now puts in the fastest lap of the race. Dixon's going to need to dig deep. 1/4 of a second was the gap over the timing. It's a little bit tighter than that as they run up towards the back chicane. Half a nose out in terms of just taking a differing line there for Sam Dixon. Oh, we've got driver off in the back chicane. That's Louis Granell in the tyres, unfortunately. Was running just inside the P10, in top 10 in 10th place. Last lap board out then. Charlie Gregg and Sam Dixon. Charlie Heffer in 3rd place, hoping that an opportunity opens up for him. But nonetheless, a trophy to take home with him. Dixon at the moment does not look close enough. Three corners to go. The first one, caravan corner, negotiated up towards the complex. Sam Dixon, not quite close enough. 2 heat victories, but couldn't convert it into the final. Charlie Gregg wins at round 7 of the HWE BIM Services Super 1 Championship from Sam Dixon. A podium on debut in 2nd place. Charlie Heffer will join them on the podium, with trophies going to TJ McLeish, Toby Miles and Finley Thompson in 4th, 5th and 6th respectively. Charlie Ford in P7 in front of Leyland Bradnam, Amelia Hay and Eva Jones coming back through the field to finish in 10th place, having started in 6th, having dropped down to 12th and then had to work her way back through. Finishes in P10, ran as high as 9th in the middle part, back down to 11th, back to 10th. So an up and down final for Eva Jones, but impressive nonetheless. Her first Super 1 outing. Louis Granell in 11th, Aubrey Harrington Evans in P12. Looking to make the start, in fact that car having a few issues. Calvin Sherlock, Oliver Wynne, Eli Romolo and Xavier Davidson in front of Arlo Atwood and Ronnie Griffin. The bottom 4 on the screen there, unfortunately not seeing the end of the race day. The final then of round number 7 of the HWE BIM Services is with us. As Jarek Metters lines up on the front row for senior Rotax. Grids then will be with us shortly for senior Rotax, the last of our finals. Jarek Metters on pole position, Morgan Hudson-Brown alongside the highest 2 seeded drivers from last season, 2nd and 3rd, will start in 1 and 2. George Cole, the championship leader by 51 points, starts in 3rd place. He's alongside Tom Nottingham. Joe Weaver, the Joe Weaver Racing team boss, returns for P5. He's alongside Ronnie Smith. Kieran Denyer, James Cassiola, with Isaac Parkinson and Max Chown, Max Rowley and Lewis Holt on row number 6. Row 7, Billy Edgecombe and Robin Brain, Ollie Rowley and Rory Hinckley in front of Caden Welch and Jacob Baran are on row number 9. The top 20 completed by Riley Mason Lewis and George Daniels in front of Shaquille Joseph, Max Lorna Bennick and Kian Eastick, with Emma Stoner on the outside of row number 12. Row 13, Harry Gill and Lucas Steele. He had an issue earlier on with the retirement of heat number 1, an exhaust issue for him. He starts in front of Izzy Lawton, Tom Williams and Raul Foliani. You've got 29 runners in this senior Rotax finale. Metters then will lead them round. Hudson Brown looking to the right, looking at Jarek Metters' right foot to see when he's going to put the power down. The answer is now, and we are away and racing in the Senior Max final. Hudson Brown looking to the right, trying to get into the inside lane. He's managed to get across, and then he's going to go around the outside, is he? Didn't quite work for him, but Morgan Hudson Brown as Ronnie Smith kicks up a dust cloud in the background. Oh, we've got 2 or 3 going through the back chicane. The 52 of Jacob Baran goes over the grass as well, as we will allow the spotters to pick up those drivers that didn't make it through the back chicane. Into the complex they go then for the first time in this 9 minutes plus 1 lap final. Jarek Metters leads then from Morgan Hudson Brown. Joe Weaver, what a return this would be for Joe Weaver, the JWR team boss. Spoke to him earlier today, said he was dusting off the cobwebs in qualifying, but was still reasonably happy with P11. Started this final P5, and he's going with Metters and Morgan Hudson Brown. Brown second in the championship. Cole is your championship leader by a good margin. He's currently in 4th place. Jarek Metters for TWR at the moment with a train of karts behind him. Normally early doors, because of the nature of this circuit, you'll see a leader breaking away with 1 or 2 others, as Tom Nottingham is getting shuffled back here, losing a couple of places. Look like Billy Edgecombe is making a move down the inside there as well. Metters from Brown, Weaver, then Cole. Metters very defensive on the run up to that right-hander at Caravan Corner. I think that's because he knows that if one kart goes down the inside, they're that tightly packed together, it could be 2, 3, 4, 5, and before he knows it, he'll be down in P6. Weaver defending from George Cole. Kieran Denyer and Ronnie Smith are arguing over P5. Smith with the fastest lap on the previous lap was some 4/10 quicker than all of those in front of him, and they all set personal bests. Do get the feeling that there's at least another half a second in this whole senior Rotax field, but moves like this, corner by corner, makes for great racing. It's not the fastest they've ever been, that's for sure. Weaver there with a bit of dust. That pigeon's going to want to move. Big gap now for the 2 leaders. George Cole down the inside of Joe Weaver for 3rd place. Kieran Denyer just behind, and they're all taking a tight line. Isaac Parkinson, I think that was, down the inside of Ronnie Smith. Smith managed to drive round the outside and hold on. It was Isaac Parkinson, number 34, another one of the TDR runners. Denyer defending from Ronnie Smith. Billy Edgecombe down the inside of Isaac Parkinson. Max Chown just behind. Oh, and into the gravel. That looked like it was the 28. It was. It's Max Lorna-Bennett off into the gravel. Down at the far end of the circuit. Weaver with a bit of a gap now. It's only a few kart lengths, but that's because looking over his shoulder is Kieran Denyer, corner on corner. Ronnie Smith going well in 6th place, but has probably got a little bit more pace in that number 96 Omega kart, and he's coming down the inside there as Weaver had backed up, and we're all... That's like an accordion for everybody. I think the 96, I think, is going to get a contact warning for that on the radio, but everybody was in there. That's Rory Hinckley coming back through. He started well down the order after a retirement earlier on. Down the inside goes Kieran Denyer. Ronnie Smith saying to him, look, we could go forwards if we stopped squabbling with each other. Although, as is standard with karting driver hypocrisy, he overtook Denyer on the previous lap, but then didn't like it when Denyer overtook him on this lap. So, swings and roundabouts. Billy Edgecombe with a clinical move down the inside there of Parkinson. Tom Nottingham is through as well. Metters and Hudson Brown off at the front, and then this train of karts from 4th place behind George Cole, who is in 3rd and comfortable, not closing in and not really troubled by Weaver, Denyer, Smith, Edgecombe, Nottingham, Parkinson, Kasiolek. There's Rory Hinckley in the yellow helmet, 2 or 3 from the back of the train. Ollie Rowley, Max Chown's in there as well. Couple of tenths back to Lewis Holt as Morgan Hudson Brown plugs in the fastest lap of the race. 2 minutes and 15 on the clock. Jarek Metters still leading then from Morgan Hudson Brown, but Hudson Brown biding his time to an extent. There's George Cole, a little bit behind, a fraction faster, but not enough that it's going to trouble these two. Waved yellows, and we've got one of the TDR karts off on the outside of Marshall Post 5. Falling down the order, it's Max Rowley in the number 10. Oh, and we've got George Cole off. Has George Cole gone off by himself? He has! George Cole from 3rd place has took himself out! The championship leader! Oh, and they're all through the chicanes! The chicane's gone for one! The chicane is all over. We may well have to go to a Battenberg. We do! 50 seconds on the clock, and it's a Battenberg flag. Jarek Metters, Morgan Hudson Brown, Battenberg flag is out, and the rebuild process of the back chicane commences. And we just cut to that, and that entire battle from 3rd place, or 4th place effectively, it was 3rd because we had Jarek Metters, Morgan Hudson-Brown, then George Cole, all by himself, kicked off absolutely everything behind as the whole field moved to the inside. Cole was already off the track on the outside, and by the time we cut back, the back chicane was being rebuilt. We're going to have here, I think, a one-lap shootout, but we've got George Cole out, Kieran Denyer out, Ronnie Smith out as well. We're going to have a Battenberg checker here. We're not going to get round in enough time, and there's no point having an extra lap at the end of it. The field will be as they are. Jarek Metters, Morgan Hudson-Brown and Tom Nottingham will be your top three. They will come round. We're not going to get the back chicane built in enough time. There's no point staying under Battenberg for one extra lap for the sake of it. The checkered flag is already up in the air. It would have been the same result in 2 minutes' time anyway. Jarek Metters wins round 7 at a canter as he comes over the line half-paced in order to get his photo. Metters, Hudson-Brown and Tom Nottingham as Ronnie Smith and Kieran Denyer. Max Rowley down there as well. Survey the damage of a chaotic penultimate lap in senior Rotax. Hopefully everybody is okay. Our drivers put on a show for us, but we want them all to go home safely on Saturdays, back for Sundays, and then home safely on Sundays as well. But on this occasion, the day belongs to Jarek Metters. Morgan Hudson-Brown, Tom Nottingham are your top three. Isaac Parkinson, Joe Weaver returns to karting here in Super 1 with a P5. James Cassiolek, Billy Edgecombe, Lewis Holt, George Daniels, Max Choud, Ollie Rowley are your top 11 in front of Riley Mason, Lewis. There's Kieran Denyer walking home. A despondent Kieran Denyer walking home. Harry Gill, 13th. Rory Hinckley, Izzy Lawton, Shaquille Joseph, Jacob Barran, with Kian Eastick, Tom Williams, Lucas Steele, Emma Stoner, Robin Brain and Ralph Olianu. Max Lorna-Bennick managed to get out of the gravel to finish P24, the final runner, to see the checkered flag with George Cole, Kieran Denyer, Ronnie Smith, Max Rowley and Caden Welch, your final classified runner in P29. Smith still surveying, still debriefing the incident into that back chicane. The conversations will go long into the night here between the drivers at Fullbeck. We will be back though early tomorrow morning for a full race day of action. All the heats and the finals from round number 8 of the HWE BIM Services Super 1 Championship, live here from Fullbeck. Look forward to welcoming you tomorrow morning. I am David Sullivan. Thank you very, very much. I will see you tomorrow, bright and early, for round number 8 of the Super 1 Championship.